Game 5 for the Leafs and Panthers goes down tonight, and Craig Berube might be making some lineup changes. We'll get into that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. What's happening, brother? Game 5. You psyched?
Yeah, well, first off, it was somebody's birthday, I hear, so here we give a little happy birthday shout out to our co-host here, Mr. DiStefano.
Thank you. I took it quite deep last night, sadly. I am you'll probably notice that my voice is a tad hoarse today. That would be why. That would be why. Yeah. Had a good time though. So thank you to everyone who did wish me a happy birthday yesterday, and everyone my buddies who came and celebrated with me last night. Hopefully the Leafs can give me a nice little gift with a win tonight, Dave. Exactly. That would be nice. Nice little dubski. Although I'll never forget, my birthday was May 13th, right? Do you recall what happened on May 13th?
Yeah, I got many notifications, reminders.
Yeah. It was 4-1, happened on my 19th birthday. So at least I was able to go to the bar after and drink my sorrows after that. That was how I spent my 19th birthday, watching the Leafs blow a 4-1 third period lead to the Boston Bruins in Game 7. That's how I spent my 19th birthday. And then I got to drink my face off after and maybe forget about it, or at least numb the pain a tad. Hopefully it can we can have some celebratory beverages tonight. Maple Leafs, Panthers, Game 5. And look, the momentum right now is with the Florida Panthers. Obviously, they won the last 2 games, but both teams have been successful on home ice, and the series shifts back up north here to Toronto. So they'll have home ice advantage again tonight. They'll have the home crowd. They'll have last change. So they will definitely have a bit more of an advantage here in game number 5. And I think this is a pivotal game. I think whoever wins Game 5 is going to win the series, ultimately. If Florida wins this one tonight, I think they'll wrap it up in 6 in Florida. And if Toronto wins tonight, I think they got a good chance to win one of the next 2 at the very least. So I think that Game 5 here tonight, pivotal.
I'm just trying to find this. I read a stat somewhere that, let's see. Oh, here we go. The team that leads 3-2 in a best of 7 go on to win the series 79.4% of the time. So almost 80% of the time. That's how critical Game 5 is. This reminds me a lot about the time they played Tampa. It's kind of a bit of a back and forth. Leafs had a chance to win Game 5. They did go to win, try to pull it off in Game 6 in Florida. Now, we know that's easier said than done, but you definitely want to you don't want to have to win 2 straight to, if you lose this game, to have to win it. Win tonight, put the pressure on the Panthers. Yes, you still have to win 2 straight, but I think the mindset will be we can get this all done rather than, they have a chance to put us away now.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to wrestle momentum back, right? You just want to get that momentum back on your side and leave Toronto the same way you left the first time, with a series lead. That's ultimately what the goal is going to be tonight. Speaking of tonight, sounds like there might be some lineup changes based on what we saw at morning skate, or the optional skate today. Dave, what's the latest there?
Yeah, so it was an optional morning skate. So we saw Oliver Ekman-Larsson out for the pre-skate. So he was there to just kind of get himself on the ice. He did miss practice yesterday with an illness. And so he was on the ice and he left. Another guy who did not participate with the scratches was David Kampf. Usually when you're skating in the full optional skate, that means you're likely not going to be going. But then apparently a bunch of the Black Aces were also taken off the ice So Craig Berube is definitely making this tough to gauge what exactly he's got planned for the lineup for game 5.
Yeah, a little gamesmanship, little mind games. I'm not sure you can play mind games like that though with Paul Maurice, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think Paul Maurice cares if David Camp is in the lineup or not. I don't think the Panthers care. Like, they're gonna play their game regardless who is in the lineup. Like, it really does not matter. So for me, I don't know. The gamesmanship, it's part of it, but I don't think it's a very effective tactic, or it's not going to make a whole big of a difference. But we'll see. We talked about it yesterday. We both would probably like to see David Camp get back into the lineup, if not for anything, to alleviate some of the penalty killing duties of Auston Matthews, and maybe that'll give him a spark and allow him to shine a little more offensively without having to take the punishment on the body, blocking shots, playing so much in the defensive zone. You just give him some more time in the offensive end, let him get going, let him get cooking. Because if that guy, once he starts scoring, like, he could score in bunches. Like, that's what he's done throughout his career, and he just needs to see one drop. Right, hasn't scored at all in this series. If he can get one tonight, I think that'll bode really, really well for the Maple Leafs. We'll get into more in that in a few minutes here. We're going to be doing a pressure list, so the top 5 Leafs facing the most pressure heading into game number 5. But quickly, before we get into that, anything else come out from morning skate here, Dave?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about, is there an illness going around? Because as we know, Ekman Larsson was sick. I think Steve Dangle put out that maybe there's a bunch of guys who are dealing with maybe some sort of illness, and Berube's like, well, this was just kind of a one-off situation. It's like, well, no, not really, because Matt Murray was sick and didn't dress in game 3. We've had a bunch of guys kind of go off the ice during games and then come back, and sometimes it was the equipment issues, as it was for Tanev. Nyes has missed time on the ice, so it's a bit suspicious. I'm not gonna lie. It's tough. Of course, Brewery doesn't want to let known that maybe a few players are under the weather,
right?
But it's hard to not try to connect. It's obviously we don't have anything really proven. It might not come out till later that maybe there are some guys dealing with something, but yeah, that gives people thoughts of how maybe that impacted the way that they've played the last few games.
Potentially. I mean, excuses, I'm not here for that, but yeah,
Nope.
if the team's playing a little fatigued because there's some illness going on through the room, I guess that could explain some of it. But yeah, we're not here for excuses, man. Like, it's been 9 years since this team and they haven't done anything. So at this point, you got to fight through and battle through whatever it is, whether it's injury or illness. Got to fight through and battle and win a hockey game. That's what they got to do tonight. It is going to be Joseph Wall between the pipes, so no Anthony Stolarz once again. There's no official timeline update either on Stolarz, still considered day-to-day. We saw him on ice taking shots at practice yesterday, but then left once the practice started. So not playing tonight, not suiting up as the backup. We'll see what ends up happening. And how he begins or how he continues to progress as we move forward. Hopefully the Maple Leafs can, win the series against Florida, and then we could probably see him again in the next series. But it doesn't sound like he's going to be ready, soon, or at least in the next couple of days, to be available for the Leafs, and certainly not tonight, and maybe not even on Friday. But we'll cross our fingers and hope that Stoli can get healthy for the Buds here at some point. Also, no Evan Rodriguez tonight for the Florida Panthers. He took that hit in the last game. Jesper Boqvist will draw in, so no Evan Rodriguez. I think that's a pretty big loss, actually. He's like a good secondary piece. He plays a heavy game. I think there's a clear drop off from Rodriguez to Boqvist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Boqvist has not really been a factor that much in the playoffs. So, like, Rodriguez isn't like a big time player for them, but, he's someone that's had an impact in this series, whether it's, bad hits on certain players that didn't get called by the ref.
He's like their Pacioretty kind of thing, where it's like he's good for a couple of goals. He can, play up the physicality. Yeah. He can play. He's very versatile. Can play the wing. Can play the center ice position. So he's a good blur. Good top 9 guy for Florida. So, he'll definitely be missed. That's for sure. But yes, for Boquist draws in. So hopefully the Maple Leafs can capitalize on a bit of a weaker opponent in the lineup. Whenever that line is out there. All right. Anything else from practice today? Well, I think we pretty much hit on everything that there was to update.
Not really much to add.
Yeah, that was pretty well it. All right. On the other side, let's talk about let's get into this power ranking. Top 5 pressure players with pressure heading in to game 5. So we'll get to that next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keeping you feeling fuller longer. I'm a big fan of the no-shell variety. It's a great option when I'm here at my desk and I just don't want to make a big mess. Or if I want to take something out on the go, it's perfect for a road trip. They're always a go-to snack for myself. And if you like the in-shell options, they are a classic favorite and they provide that satisfying crunch. And Wonderful Pistachio also comes in many different flavors and options, whether you want salted, lightly salted. Those are our different options you can get from Wonderful Pistachios. So get cracking and snacking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, David Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, on the Locked On Leafs podcast, which is free and available wherever you get your podcast at. You could also find us on YouTube as well. Maple Leafs with a game tonight, a very pivotal game 5 between the Leafs and the Panthers. Dave found a good stat that essentially says the team that wins game 5 to take a 3-2 lead wins the series 80% of the time. So that's the difference. There's an 80-20 up for grabs of, odds of winning the series. They win, there's an 80% chance they'll win the series. If they lose, those odds drop all the way down to 20. So very important game tonight, and we've compiled a pressure list. We both have 5 players who we believe are facing the most pressure heading into tonight based on how things have played out to this point in either the playoffs or this series. So let's get things started here, Dave. You go through your 5 through 1 and then I'll do mine. Is that how we want to go about it?
Or
you want to alternate?
Yeah, let's alternate.
Okay, so we'll both go. We'll start at 5. I have Joe Woll at number 5. That's simply because I know he's coming off a great game, but there's still gonna be a lot of pressure. Like there's still, that not stench. It's not the right word, but it's like Stolarz was playing so great, right? Where it's like still wish that Stoley may have been in net, but there's always gonna be pressure on the goalie in Toronto in the playoffs, right? So that's why I had Joseph Woll coming in at number 5.
Yeah, I had him at number 4. Number 5 for me was Jake McCabe. Okay. I thought game 4 wasn't his best. He made that error on the second goal, on the Bennett goal. Feels like he's a guy that we need. When talking about the blue line, they've been pretty good in this series, but they got to step up a little bit more. I feel like he's got to be more of that physical presence on that blue line. Like we know Chris Tannen is going to be sound. He's going to block shots, but McCabe's got to bring that physical edge. So I feel like the Panthers have gotten away with being a little too aggressive and a little too physical on the blue line, on the forward check, and that's really worn them down. So they got to dish some of that back, and I think McKay is one of those guys that's looking to do that.
Yeah, I've got him a little bit higher on my list, actually. But coming in at number 4 for me, again, I like to cheat, that where it's just so hard to pick certain players. So I got the third line, or whatever the iteration of the third line has been. We'll see what it looks like tonight. Sounds like there's going to be a change or two made to the lineup. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but the line of Max Domi, Bobby McMahon, and Pontus Holmberg, like they need to produce. Like that line in the playoffs have combined for 5 points in just 10 games. Domi has 3 points. Bobby McMahon and Pontus Holmberg both with 1 singular assist throughout the entire playoffs. That's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. They're expected to provide a little bit of secondary offense. And when you look at what's going on with the Edmonton Oilers, who are up, 3-1 on their in their series against Vegas, they have 9 players with more points than those trio combined, 3 of which include Vasily Podkolzin, Connor Brown, and Corey Perry. Like, those are 3 depth options, and all 3 of them have more points by themselves than those 3 do combined. They don't really provide a whole lot, defensively, and haven't quite given you a whole lot of physical elements as well. Domi at the end of the game there, I guess, did, provide a nice little bump on Barkov, but you still want to see a little bit more open ice checks from guys like Max Domi and Bobby McMahon. I think maybe a little toss of the gloves at some point to get the crowd and get the boys fired up. But I think that third line has not played pretty well all playoff, besides a couple of shining moments. And I think there's a lot of pressure on them to finally get going here.
Yeah, I had them as my 4th. Because I feel like the Leafs, there's always so much pressure on that top 6 to perform, your third line has to find a way to get on the board. And so this is why I mentioned bringing Robertson in, because maybe you get those 3 going together. They know that they can have some measure of success together. Maybe that's not going to happen for tonight, but just to provide more offensively, because they are going to get more of the offensively driven matchups, right? You're not going to put them out there in defensive situations, so you might as well try to get them in those different matchups and be more of a factor offensively. If not offensively, got to find a way to be a little more physical. Domi, we know Domi can play that pest role. We know that McMahon's got that physicality. They got to bring it, though. They have not done that as much. Even if you're not giving the points, obviously the offense is crucial, and they wish you could do that more. You gotta find a way to be better on the cycle, be better on the forecheck, try to wear down the blue line a bit. That's something the Leafs just have not been able to do. They haven't worn down that Panthers blue line that much.
Yeah, completely agree. That third line's gotta have a night. Gotta have a night tonight. Much like they did, I guess, what was it, game 6 against Ottawa? That third line finally came alive in that third period and provided the game-winning goal. So, let's hope that they can do something again tonight to get a little bit of offense. Coming in at number 3 for me, this is where I had Jake McCabe, and it's solely just because of how poorly he played, or at least that gross, Sam Bennett goal from the other night. But Jake McCabe, I think, can play a little better, and he's got to step it up physically as well. Still waiting for someone to go up to Sam Bennett and show him, like, hey, you can't pick on us anymore. Like, just get out there, drop the mitts with the guy, or sucker him. I don't care what it takes, but guy like Jake McCabe is someone who I expect to stick up for his teammates, and he just hasn't quite done that yet. But also just need to play a little bit better defensively, and just make those correct decisions. The one that he did not make on that 2-0 goal in game 4.
Yeah, I just think you got to find a way to, again, bring that edge. Try to make life a little easier for your blue line, and they gotta be quicker with their decisions with the puck. Tanev does, McCabe do, because if you're gonna sit there and take that punishment, it's going to wear you down as the game goes along. And I think we're seeing that as the series goes along, and they got to find a way to be quicker, or you got to bring some of that physical pain on the other end. Don't be always on the receiving end of it.
Who'd you have at number 3?
Who I have at number 3? I had John Tavares.
Okay.
He's been good. I haven't had too many issues with John Tavares, but the last game, he's a guy I wish could have stepped up a little bit more offensively. He had opportunities. Like when I saw what he did in game 3, I want to see a little bit more of that in game 4. Go to the net. If you're not going to get that shot in the net, find a way to, he made that beautiful wraparound goal.
Yeah.
He was not a factor in front of the net. And that's something he has to be successful. So I need to see more of that from him.
Yeah, win some battles in front of the net would be nice. That would be, but you need to spend some time in the offensive zone for that, realistically. Yeah. And having last change should help too. Like, now they can get that line out against, whoever you want, right? So it doesn't always have to be against, like the Barkov line, who was actually lined up against them a lot in Florida. My second play, you know what? Let's take a break. We'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll get to our final two players, the two guys facing the most pressure heading into Game 5. I don't think they're going to surprise anyone, but we'll explain why next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti. It's game day, Game 5. Leafs and Panthers series currently tied up at 2 games apiece in a big-time Game 5 going down tonight, 7 o'clock at Scotiabank Arena. Hopefully anyone who's going to be in attendance is going to be cheering loud and proud, and hopefully we've got a lot of people heading out to Maple Leaf Square too to celebrate. That'd be pretty sweet. All right, we're doing a top 5 players facing the most pressure heading into Game 5, Dave and I. And we've already gone through players 5 through 3, and we've got our final 2 guys still to unveil. And these 2 players I don't think are going to surprise anyone. They're expected to be the best players and simply haven't been, at least the ones who are at the top of my list. I guess I won't put words in Dave's mouth, but I have a feeling that we're going to be on the same page here, considering neither of these names have shown up yet. But for me at number 2, I've got Mitch Marner coming in at number 2. Dave, he's got back-to-back games here without a shot on net. And I know he's not a goal scorer, so I don't expect him to have 4, 5, 6 shots on goal. But, when you look at how they've been able to create offense this series, a lot of it has come from tips, deflections, redirections, right? Got banging, going off of the opposition's, stick or hip or whatever. They haven't been clean goals. So it's really throwing things on net and they're getting good bounces. So when you have 0 shots on goal, you're not giving yourself a chance or an opportunity to do that. And when you're losing games by a goal, they've been so tight here, closely contested games, you could look back and be like, should have shot, once, twice, maybe a third time, could have got a puck on net, and who knows what happens. Rebound, goes off a stick, goes off a leg, could have been a whole different hockey game. But back-to-back games, though, a shot on goal. I just think he needs to be more of a threat, has to create a little bit more, find some open ice to get those looks. Can't solely rely on his line mates. I get it. Nyes and Matthews are the more clear goal scorers and shooters of that line, but he's gotta do it himself. This is a 30 goal scorer in the NHL. It's not like he can't score, right? We saw him score in the first game, right? He's got a nice little shot. He's got to just get it off from time to time, and he can't put up a third goose egg in a row in the shot department. Just can't happen.
No, and he's one of those guys that when you look at the Leafs and how tough it has been for them to close out series, he remains, I think, out of the core 4 forwards, he's bottom in points in games 5, 6, and 7. There's a reason for that. He's not as assertive as he needs to be in these moments, right? Game 4 was a clear example of that, where, yes, I get it. You were hit pretty gnarly by a elbow from Kulikov.
Yeah.
But you got to play through it. Unfortunately, it's the ref should be calling it, but you have to let that go. Calls are not going to go your way, and just play and just barrel down. But yeah, the no shots, that's unacceptable. You have to find a way and to get shots through, put yourself in better shooting positions. Maybe don't have that pass first mentality as much. We know that that's where he wants to go. But I do think that he's got to be, especially with Auston Matthews not scoring as much. Yeah. Someone else is going to have to step it up, because Matthew Nyes can't be the only one looking to put the puck in the net too.
Well, think about the one really good opportunity that Matthews got in Game 4, right? He had the puck. It took him a little bit to get it off, but he had the puck, and Bobrovsky was right there. It was a cross-ice pass, but Bobrovsky knew the pass was coming, knew it was coming, knew Matthews was there, and he was able to get over quickly, get in position, and give Matthews absolutely nothing to shoot at, ends up shooting it right into his glove, right? If Mitch Marner provides just a little bit more of a shot threat, and he fakes a shot, and you get Bobrovsky to bite for half a second, and then you fire it over to Matthews, maybe he's not in position as quickly, and maybe that gives you an extra half a second to get the puck off and get into the back of the net, a little more open space, right? That's just what that creates. So not having that threat certainly doesn't help guys like Matthews and guys like Matthew Nyes either. So that's a player I think needs to step up for sure and be a dominant player. Was he your second as well?
Yeah, he was my second.
And I'm assuming that leaves the big cat, the captain, Auston Matthews, as your number one player with the most pressure tonight.
Yeah, I mean, your captain has to be your best player. He has to lead, and I'm sorry, but he's been the most pedestrian player of the core in this series, right? And I get it. Everybody's dealing with something. People are, trying to make different excuses of what he's been going through, but you got to find a way. He's had opportunities, and like the big one for me was that opportunity where he gets a pass and he's alone on Bobrovsky. I don't know if he, was just
that's the one I was talking about. Where,
right?
But like I think if Marner was a bit more of a shot, like Bobrovsky clearly read the play because he's like, all right, Matthews to my left, he's 100% getting this puck. So like, I'm gonna cheat and I'll be ready for that cross-ice pass, and he was.
And when a player is struggling and maybe is a little frustrated, he's going to rush. He's going to get a little flustered. But it's not an opportunity Auston Matthews misses very often. And so, and where we usually see Auston Matthews dominate, he's not getting to the middle of the ice. He's, he doesn't always score the pretty goals. If he has to, he will find ways to get into the danger areas as well. It's not happening, which also makes me wonder, do you potentially switch where he plays on the power play? Do you put him more at the net front, and maybe put JT at the side? I know JT's great in front, but maybe if Auston Matthews is struggling with his shot a little bit, get somebody out there that's going to maybe have a better opportunity to shoot. But it doesn't. If the coaching staff hasn't moved him, that makes me think that that's not the issue that he's having right now. Yeah. And I think a lot of it maybe could be between the ears, and that's not a good thing. This is what the Leafs, when they put the C on him, were saying he is ready for this. He is ready to take on this, extra pressure of leading the team as the captain. Well, he's got to deliver. This is, otherwise, if things go badly in these next two games, people are going to look and say, well, that didn't work to change the captaincy. That just felt like an empty sort of move in a lot of ways, because he has not been their best player in these playoffs, and he's got to find a way to. He doesn't necessarily need to go and score in a hat trick. Would love that, but he's got to have a goal. He's got to find a way to score. He's got to find a way to have an offensive presence.
Yeah, his underlying metrics down across the board. Just 0.41 goals per 60, which is the lowest of his career. You look at shots per 60, 8.93 shots per 60. Again, the lowest of his playoff career. For example, last year it was 13.15. So it's almost 5 full shots per 60 less than he was a season ago. He hasn't been in single digits per 60 minutes since his rookie year in 2016-17. So just goes to show, how, poorest of a season he's having. Individual expected goals, again, 0.99. It's the first time in 5 since pre-COVID that it was, sub 1 expected goals per 60 individual basis. Scoring chances down, high danger chances down, like rebounds created down, like all of these metrics that generate offense are down. And it's a big reason why, they have not been able to generate offense on that top line like they should be able to do. So he's got to get it going. He's got to figure it out. That's for sure. Even his hits are down. Like he's not hitting as much either. This is the least hits he's had since pre-COVID. And it's also the most hits he's taken. No, third most. Actually, it's about middle of the pack for hits taken. So it's not as though he's, taking a whole bunch more hits either. It's got a middle of the pack for his career. So either way you slice it, he's got 1 goal at 5-on-5 throughout the entire playoffs. That's also just kind of unacceptable for a player of his ilk and stature. And, he just provides a little bit more offense. These close, tight 1-goal games all of a sudden go from an L to a dub. And that's why they need him to get going and to perform and start tonight in the most pivotal game of the series for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's who we both have at number 1, and there's absolutely no question that he is the one facing the most pressure. He's got the C on his chest for a reason, and he's the best player on the ice. He's got to perform like it. He's got to play like it. He's got to beat Alex Barkov. He's got to show he's better than Barkov. That's ultimately why there's a lot of pressure on him. So there's our lists. That's the list we got for you guys here. So in my order, 1 through 5, I had Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, Jake McCabe, the Leafs' third line, and Joe Woll as my top 5. Dave, what was yours?
Mine was Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares. We had the Joseph Woll, and then we had the defenseman Jake McCabe.
Yes. So that's what we got cooking for our 5 players facing the most pressure ahead of game number 5. Again, puck drop later tonight, 7 o'clock at Scotia Bank Arena. That will do it for us today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. It's also on Instagram at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow to recap Game 5. Leafs, Panthers, 7 o'clock puck drop. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep locked right here on Locked On Leafs.